Nuclear power is one of the largest sources of electricity production in the United States, providing about 20% of electricity to the grid. This is compared to 34% for natural gas, 30% for coal, and 16% for everything else. Nuclear power utilizes the process of fission to split atoms such as uranium and create energy. This heats water into steam and drives a turbine. It is very similar to how coal and gas-fired plants operate, but their waste products are vastly different. In terms of greenhouse gases, nuclear power is on par with wind. The actual fissioning of uranium does not release any carbon, sulfur, or other byproducts traditionally associated with burning fuel. However, the spent fuel from a nuclear reactor can cause problems because it is highly radioactive. This waste can take years to decay to a normal state, and the time to do so is measured in half-lives, the time for half of the element to decay. The nuclear industry has been dealing with this problem since its inception, but just how much waste is there? It is estimated by the Nuclear Energy Institute that over the past 40 years, 76,430 metric tons of fuel have been produced, with about 2,000 to 2,300 being added each year. If each of the fuel assemblies were stacked together, it would cover a football field 8 yards deep. That is the amount of waste that must be dealt with. To put it another way, if all electricity in the United States was produced from nuclear, per person there would only be about 40 grams of waste, or 7 quarters worth of material. If all electricity were produced by coal, there would be approximately 10,000 kilograms of CO2 released per person. So what happens to all of these radioactive materials? For low-level waste, there are 4 primary disposal facilities, one in Texas, South Carolina, Utah, and Washington. Low-level waste includes items that have become contaminated with radioactive material or that have become radioactive through exposure to neutron radiation. These include protective clothing, mops, filters, equipment, dials, medical tubes, laboratory equipment, and more. But the main problem is the high-level waste produced in the nuclear industry. At the moment, it is being stored on-site in storage pools and dry casks. However, these were meant for short-term storage, when the waste is most radioactive, and they may eventually reach capacity. One possible solution is reprocessing the waste into new fuel. Many items today can be recycled, and nuclear waste is no exception. In fact, several European countries, Russia, China, and Japan have policies to reprocess used nuclear fuel. Reprocessing the fuel can allow for over 25% more energy to be extracted, as the waste is still over 90% uranium after going through the reactor. In addition, there is less waste, and the waste that is produced is less radioactive. Currently, this process is banned in the United States because it separates out plutonium, a material that could be used to create nuclear weapons. Although it can be an expensive process, and uranium reserves are estimated to last between 90 to 200 years, recycling nuclear waste should be pursued for the future. Although even with reprocessing, waste products will still be generated and they will need to be stored. The 1987 Nuclear Waste Policy Act designated Yucca Mountain to be the location for long-term disposal of nuclear waste. It is remote, extremely dry, and has been extensively reviewed. The NRC has established that the site would be safe for 1 million years. There's been lots of controversy, though, over Yucca Mountain, with construction starting and stopping over the decades. This has only hurt the nuclear industry, which has already paid over $30 billion to the Nuclear Waste Fund. Nuclear waste is a serious issue that must be dealt with. The United States government should take actions to encourage reprocessing and ensure a long-term storage facility for waste, or risk the closure of nuclear power and the end of its many benefits. Feel free to explore this site for more information.